Howdy, all you delicious people! I am here today to review a Maniac from 2012. For some reason, I thought that this movie was done in like 2010 because rationally, I think there was a lot of times where I ended up watching a lot of movies that were from 2010, so I just made the connection that I thought that this was from that year, and then also to get really confused when you go on and try to figure out which year a movie came out. But regardless, let's go on and talk about Maniac. So, I had gone on and seen some POV movies like Hardcore Henry, and I thought that movie was honestly garbage. And I was like, man, when are they ever gonna get a point of view movie? When are they gonna ever get a POV right? And this movie actually freaking nails it. Also, like, this movie takes a lot of big swings. It does a POV movie and it's very artsy, and I'm just like, man, like all of this just smashing together just weirdly works. And I'm just to have gone on and been so fascinated by the visuals going on in this film and all the stuff that it just tries to accomplish. And I am just like, man, all right, like this movie, just like was so like something that I really needed right now. And then also there is obviously stuff about it about the whole like him going on and peeling off the back of people's heads is just a little bit okay. But again, for a slasher film, at least that is something different than all the other kinds of movies that I've gone on and seen. And that's again where I'm like, great, something that yeah, it's a slasher genre of a thing, but it's something so different that it doesn't copy and paste from everything that we've ever seen. So, with that said, uh, immediately when I was going on and making my way through this film, because like this movie, like the time just flew by while watching this film. That's probably how entertained I really was. Like there are some times where I really kind of mark when certain films get good at one point, like that never happened with this film. I was just like, man, like how much time has passed in this movie, and I'm like, wow, all right, like I'm like X number of minutes in, like wow, like this movie just flies by to me, and I just enjoyed it. So this movie is currently available on Pluto TV or the CW app, I believe. And both of those are easy to get to and free for anybody to go on and check out. Uh, and then also, I can go on and give you an app like Zelifonic, Zelivonic, and you can see this movie and as well as a number of other things, especially if you want to go on and see the original Maniac to probably compare and contrast. You can do that also. And then maybe I may go on and watch the original if it seems that the original may be wildly popular for whatever good reason. Because some people might like the original because they probably think it's better and they have their own biased opinions about which one is good and which one isn't and whatever. Uh, but so, immediately for comparisons, this movie goes on and reminds me of the two movies, Mannequin. And yes, I'd gone on and seen the movies Mannequin. Yes, I remember those. They were entertaining for the time of which that I saw them years ago. Also, this movie reminded me of the Ryan Reynolds film Voices, movie that is just very strange and weird for Ryan Reynolds to have gone on and done. But hey, like I'm sure at some points he was just like, man, I just needed to get a check that day. But Ryan Reynolds goes on and talks to just chopped off heads in a movie. Fairly strange, but hey, it is what it is. Uh, so within this film, also there's to be like Markiplier is to have a weird, a strange a fear about mannequins, and at some point he goes on and plays mannequin games, and that's kind of the whole connection of everything that I got when just kind of watching this film. So we have a character Frank that is to own or really just inherit his mother's mannequin like uh, boutique, antique shop of sorts. And because these are to be mannequins from seemingly all different time periods, like the 30s and the 50s and the this and that. And it's just very rare and just fascinating. And so Frank is to go on, and you would think try and go on and find love. But really, when he tries to go on and find love, he much more comes off with a fistful of hair. To then go on and take said hair and plop it onto a mannequin, and then have the ghost of that person just appear in front of him as a mannequin. And so I'm like, okay, all right, like something a little bit of a skew here, but hey, like whatever is to go on and just be something different. So while going on through dating apps and just at other avenues of just randomly just driving around until he finds somebody to kill, Frank then goes on and stumbles into a gal named Anna, who it seems is to be this artist who's wanting to try to put a gallery together using mannequins because she likes to use mannequins as some art style of thing. And so the two of them are kind of perfect for one another. And it seems that the more and more that they talk to one another, it seems like they're going to end up together. But the only problem is really just Frank and his weird and wacky mannequin collection that is to seemingly start to collect a stink upon it when we start to see bugs flying around. So Frank is to go on and continue to end up being with Anna through these dates or just these get-togethers, and eventually Frank is to come to find that even though Anna is perfect for him, it may not quite work out. And then it's gonna really, in that way, go south. And then it just seems like eventually like a race against time of how really just Frank is gonna make it out of this. And when he really makes it out of it, like he really goes out of it. Just trying to be as vague as possible. But if you've kind of seen the ending, you know what I'm kind of um, tossing to. So we find that Frank has this past of going on and seeing his mother in the midst of all of these throes of passion. Let's just be very vague. And like, man, this mother, she just goes on and she's like in the street, like with two other men and this and that. And so, like, the more and more we go through this film, we're seeing these events happen while the younger Frank is like basically just watching on. And so I guess that can just go on and F with the psyche of this character and eventually cause him to consistently have these migraines that are to be like these just kind of weird flashes of these issues of just kind of blood pouring from somebody's face. And so, yeah, so I honestly wanted to go on and I wanted to weirdly know more like about Frank's backstory. Like, I wanted to find out, like, maybe Frank had never really gone on and actually ever had really a girlfriend, because people, like, knew about, Angela, Frank's mother's, uh, kind of ways, and, like, that may have, uh, got around town and this and that, and, could have made, Frank out to just be this weird or creepy kid or something. Um, like none of that ends up getting like brought up or discussed anywhere in the film. It's just like, okay, Frank now goes on and just finds these women, and like none of them know about his shop. They know nothing really about him, and yeah, so but then also it seems that when Frank goes on and is to start uh going into getting to these women, there's certain times where Frank will go on and see his mother through some of these women, to where I'm just like, okay, like, so is he doing that every single time, or like is it kind of like a psycho thing where like his mother is like this kind of thing within him that causes um him to not have um the certain like relationships that he used to go on and have with women that probably lead to a bedroom, um and so on and so forth through this film. Like maybe like Frank has a relationship problem, and maybe that was just fully just dissected within this film. But anyways, like that's how I just kind of felt about Maniac. I thought that this movie, I want to say that it was like, I want to say it was a good film. It was good, solid, good film, somewhere between there. Weirdly enough, I didn't think that I was gonna go on and uh like I didn't think I was gonna go on and enjoy this movie, but weirdly I'm like, man, this is refreshing. This is a nice change of pace. This is the film that I felt like I needed compared to all the other stuff that I've kind of like, okay, I've already seen all this stuff before, or like the stuff that I tried to see that was new is just like, just didn't quite hit me right. Um, but this one actually did, weirdly enough. This movie I think is available on the CW app or Pluto TV. Those are easy apps. You can go and watch this movie for absolutely free. But I'm going to go on and give you an app like Zelifonic, Zelivonic, and you can go to that app and watch this movie for absolutely free. As well as also, I believe, the original Maniac is also on there, so you can kind of compare and contrast and say if you liked it, or maybe you have your own biased opinion about which movie of these that you like. Um, some people probably may want me to go on and watch the original, which maybe if this is to be trending or worthwhile enough, maybe at some point I will go on and do that. But I definitely want to go on and just kind of pace uh, the two out from seeing this one to possibly seeing the original if that's the more popular one for whatever goofy reason. So, because that's what always happens in anything I do, it ends up being like, oh well, yeah, well, like the word maniac is popular, but it's from X number of year ago thing, and I'm like, what? Like, why that one? Um, but anyways, so uh, yeah, so movies like Mannequin and Ryan Reynolds' voices would be the comparison of this movie, and I'm trying to scratch my head to think if there's any other things that I could probably toss in there that could probably be a comparison. Besides, um, no, I'm kind of running a blank here because there's not a whole lot of POV movies. There are some artsy films, um, but again, yeah. So with that said, I think it's about that time to just break down this movie and go into full on spoilers and just kind of dissect this film. There was one scene in this film where when I was going into it and I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, that is like the worst thing to do. So there is a bathroom scene, which if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm gonna probably state here. So at some point we find out that like Anna has God, I feel like I'm gonna spoil something here. Um, Anna knows somebody, let's just say. And so that somebody ends up going into the bathroom, and Frank ends up starting to have a conversation with this guy. And the guy ends up calling Frank, like, oh, well, like, you're obviously gay. Like, Anna ends up spending a lot of time with a lot of gay guys. And Frank is like, well, I'm not gay. And so this guy turns to Frank, and this is after he has kind of technically washed his hands, but not taken a paper towel and wiped them. He just goes on and takes his hands and wipes his hands on Frank's coat and walks off. I'm like, that is the worst thing to do to somebody. Like, you're basically just walking all over them. And I am just like, oh my god, if someone were to have ever do that to me, they would get popped in the face. Like, that is the most, like, disgraceful thing to do. Like, I would frickin' trip them or something. Like, yeah, like, oh my god, that it was, like, the ugliest thing um to see a person do. But I'm like, man, did that just, again, like, the stuff that they do that in this movie was just um so good, so enjoyable. Oddly enough, I was not thinking that I was going to enjoy this film. I thought I was going to just be like, so, like, man, I can't wait for this hour and 20 some odd minute movie to be done and over with. But I was so shocked and just so surprised. Man, I almost want to say that this movie is better than a solid good film. But, like, just saying that this movie's great just feels weird to me. Because I feel like its weakest part is honestly the way that it ends. I really wanted there to be a legitimate, like, happy ending. And it's kind of funny because Elijah Wood's character Frank goes into that same kind of thing where where he mentions, like, man, I would have wrote this differently because I wanted a happy ending. And so Anna's like, well, yeah, uh like, I guess you are a true romantic. And yeah, like, I too would have wanted a happy ending, but we didn't get it, sadly enough. So with that said, I'm gonna go on and pause this video here because it is about that time to spoil this movie because I'm almost tiptoed into there anyways. But some people may not have gone on and seen this movie anyways, and if you haven't, you should figure out a way that you should. Even though you'll probably go on and say, "What the fuck? Like, what is wrong with you?" And I'll just be like, "Meh." Like, I saw an interesting movie and I was happy to have seen it. Cause man, uh like, yeah, like, this movie, I was like, man, like, doing a POV and an artsy film, and it just works. I think the only real artsy film that I actually remember ever really working was probably Velvet Buzzsaw, or I think there was one, like, Scarlett Johansson film where she bizarrely, like, brings all these guys, and she just bizarrely just continue walks, and then the guys follow her, and then they just bizarrely just sink into this, like, abyss. And, like, that's what happens in every single one of those times where Scarlett Johansson is to try and get these guys to follow her, and they do. And I don't really know if that one really worked either. But logically, let's just go into spoiler time before I rattle off into 30 other different tangents like I always tend to do. So it is that time, yet again, to of course go into spoiler time. Spoiler time is about that time we spend to spoil this movie. So, uh, full tilt enjoyment. That's what I really just have to say about this film. Jason was the guy that was to have been the mysterious guy I was talking about earlier, and um, there's going to be some of the names on here that I am probably going to forget. But I'm going to try my best to whip out the cast list every once in a while to try to write this whole story or tale out. So, in the very beginning of this, spoilers now, everybody, breaking this whole thing down. So, Frank is in his car, and I'm like, is it just me, or like, was the volume on this movie not good enough? I don't know, maybe it was just the versions that I saw. Like, I really had to crank up the volume in this movie, and I wouldn't suggest people doing that right away, but like, some of the dialogue felt just so far away, and I could probably understand it with this technically being a POV thing, that like, it makes sense that if somebody's far away, you're not going to get a whole like good hearing of dialogue, but like, still, like, they should have then gone on and like done something with the audio. But maybe that was just me, because I probably don't have the best headphones set up right now currently, but for some reason it still works well enough. Or maybe this was just this movie, I don't know. But anyways, so these two girls come out of this bar, and one ends up talking about shoe problems. And so the girl who is Judy is tempted to just kind of go back to the bar. I think she ends up talking something about Rob Zombie, and the two of them start talking, and so the one girl ends up taking a taxi, and so this girl Judy is trying to get a taxi, doesn't pan out, so she's starting to walk, and Frank's car is driving so slow it seems very suspicious, and so Judy goes on and looks right at Frank's car, and then she's like, okay, so she starts walking. Then she starts walking a little bit faster, and Frank is just like, oh, okay, all right, well, I'll just go on here. I'll just take a turn right here. I know where you live, Judy. I'll see you later. Bye bye now. I'm gonna get you later. So Frank goes on and is to make his way to Judy's place. Her her it looks uh like a hotel. That's what it kind of looks like to me. Um or a hotel motel, like a multi-floor, whatever apartment complex thing. I don't know how to slice and dice this, so I'm just stating a billion things so I can try to figure out how to surmise it in my brain. So we have Frank that goes to the breaker, and he takes a knife to the breaker, and I'm like, dude, it's lucky you didn't get electrocuted. And so the power is out at this building. So Judy makes her way into this place, and so she's taking this phone call, and I think she ends up telling her friend like just how like scared she was while making her way home, and she kind of blames her friend for going on and uh like taking her to all these kind of just shady places. So Judy makes her way to her room door, and Frank is following her. And then as she makes it right to the door, we have Judy that then turns and realizes that there's someone behind her, and so Judy ends up getting stabbed through uh, through the jaw or through the neck here, and then Frank goes on and hair off. So eventually, like the more that Frank does go on and murder these people, it seems that eventually the police are trying to figure this out and are trying to put a whole case together. But so in the meantime, Frank is just going to continue going on and finding other dates. And so it seems that Judy was to have been a candidate from a app called Cupid's Rejects. Very a strange app. But so Frank then is to transition to a new gal, which is to be Lucy, or no, wait, Red Lucy, 86. So oddly, Frank's handle is I'm timid, or the timid man, or something like that. Uh, and the two of them start to go on and have this computer chat between one another, and that leads them going on this dinner date. So Frank, it seems, is to go on and play off that he is this internet virgin, that he has never probably gone on and really been on the internet or really gone out with women from the internet or probably even talked to her. Like, of course, big, fat, massive lie that he's going to go on and just say here, just rationally because, uh, like, I guess some people can go on and have their weird, goofy schemes when it comes to online dating, and maybe that is to go on and be his. For me, my scheme is to be honest and real and legit, because I don't give a like, dude. I'm gonna freaking just be honest as possible, because who cares? Um, and like, yeah, like legitimately, you could probably tell when somebody has gone on and done internet talking with people quite a bit, or you could tell that they've like rarely ever done this in their life. But anyways, luckily I am to not be a person that hasn't gone on and never talked to anybody. But like sometimes the conversation is just me asking a billion questions, and that can get really annoying. Um, because really I don't know where else that it goes. Because heaven forbid, uh, you actually have a conversation that actually leads um, to actually something somewhere uh, at a certain aspect of time. But so, really just showing my cards here, like I care, like when I talk to people, there's no game, there's no freaking like, there's none of that garbage, there's none of that noise, none of that nonsense. Like it's all just like legitimately just like, well, hey, let's get to know somebody just as good as possible. Oh no, like people who probably feel otherwise who could just be like, oh yeah, right. Oh, he's just saying it because he thinks people's gonna watch this video. Whatever. Anybody go on and you talk about how you do your online thing. Maybe um, you do it legitimately, or maybe you have your own like a role to play. Like there's that whole thing of like pickup artist guys that like have their own like they don't even use their real names, or they end up kind of using certain lines to deliver people to start a conversation. Yeah, there's a lot of out there, and again, like at some point, if you just don't have confidence, nothing else is going to work for you. It's just the truth. Just wear some really cool clothes. That's all you got to really do. Or no, not cool clothes. Wear something that you feel will like feel you to feel cool. Like that's probably why I wear tank tops, because I feel cool while wearing tank tops. Um, why am I going into all this? Let's talk more about the movie. So Lucy and Frank go into this establishment, and So the two of them are talking. It seems that like they're really hitting it off, and like Lucy is trying to feel Frank out to see if he was like being honest about what all he said. And so the more the two of them talk, all of a sudden Frank needs to leave. And he's leaving because he's all of a sudden seeing everyone in this place look at him. And then when looking at Lucy, Lucy's head is starting to bleed. And so now Frank is just like, I need to go. I need to take my migraine medication and I need to just kind of splash some water in my face. So he goes in the bathroom and does so. And then he comes back to the date. And so Lucy, it seems like the more she's talking to Frank, it's like, well, you know what? I think he's a nice enough guy. Maybe I'll go on and I'll just take my clothes off in front of him and we can just have a good time. So Lucy does the nice thing and invites Frank to her place, like, well, hey, would you like to come to my place to just share a couple of drinks? And Frank is like, all right, okay, like, let's go. So the two of them go on to Lucy's place, and the music that Lucy plays, I immediately thought of like the Clerks movie where like Jason Mewes is going on and saying like the weird like Silence of the Lambs thing, like uh would you me? I'd me. And he's dancing. Yeah. Um Weirdly, like that's what I thought about when I thought about the music choice here. Not like, oh wow, this is an interesting. No. So yeah. So Lucy sneaks away, and she's gonna come back wearing something a little bit more comfortable, just some undergarments, let's just say. So Frank is to go on and seemingly just kind of like he still has his coat on, and so Lucy's like, "How about we ditch that coat?" So Frank realizes that he has it made with this girl, but it's time to get laid with this girl. And so Lucy ends up taking off her top, and then Frank goes in to apply some pressure to Lucy's chest. And it seems that Frank is to get a little bit of aggressive, and Lucy's like, "Oh, like you like the rough stuff." So they go in the bed, and it leads to a possible blowy, a possible blowing, a possible down below, if you know what I mean. So God, I have to always say, you know what I mean? I'm sorry if that gets really annoying. I'm sure it probably does. But I guess it's a catchphrase that I have to use in every single freaking thing because I can't just say whatever I want. Because heaven forbid YouTube would look at that and just besmirch me. How dare you, dear sir, say these words of profane nature? Whatever. So strike me down, YouTube. So we're thinking that like, okay, this is gonna lead to something interesting, and it does because we then have Frank that decides to get a little choke happy, and that leads to having Frank apply so much pressure that this girl ends up dying. And so Frank now is to go on and say, it's like, man, I can't have one girl. Like, you won't allow me to have, like, one. Just, like, come on. Like, I just, like, this girl was really smoking hot. She had the ring in her lip, and like yeah, like Frank finally could have gone on and who knows how long it's been since he's probably uh like reached the peak, so to speak. You know what we're spelling here. So I'm laying down wood. So it's all good. It's all good, Nud. So of course scalps her, and so the first thing that we see in this movie is that Frank is going on in his bed and he's touching somebody. It's like, who the is that? And we realize that that is to be a mannequin of his girlfriend. And we're like, okay, who is that? And it's like, oh, it's Judy from before. And she's in his bed. Okay, but she's in his bed as the mannequin who has the hair of Judy. So we then see the new mannequin pop up here, and Frank now has to schlop the piece of hair of Lucy onto this mannequin, just upon the head stapling, and then Lucy, it seems to appear as actually Lucy. It's like, oh, okay, so we understand kind of like in Frank's mind, kind of what's playing out here. And so Frank is to go on and talk to, I think, Judy, and he ends up starting to get upset, so much so that he takes this lamp, or this lamp that looks like a staff, and he like uh bashes the crap out of this mannequin, and then he goes into the bathroom, breaks the mirror. So, and then he get flashes back of Angela, who is Frank's mother, and a younger version of Frank. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't get what that meant while watching the early stages of this movie. I'm like, what does this mean? What does this visual mean? But then the later on in the movie, I'm like, oh, so like, but it feels like you would have to be forced to then just rewatch this movie again to just understand every bit and piece about this film, because I didn't really quite understand what. So I guess we would have to assume, like in Frank's just brain, just cyclically dissecting this out, that Frank at some point may have gone on and seen Judy, but then also it could be him kind of looking at every woman as also his mother in a way. So like maybe that could go on and be uh the problem that Frank is just seeing here, that every time he's looking at a woman, he's also looking at his mother. Very almost uh like psycho somewhat esh. But anyways, moving on. So Frank gets up one day and his business is supposed to be closed for the weekend. But he realizes that there is a woman who is taking photos of Frank's business, so he ends up opening up for her and lets her just kind of come on in to the business. And so this, of course, ends up being Anna. So Anna's looking around at all these mannequins because she is a person that just appreciates this kinds of stuff. And she's looking at all these just different wild sets of like time periods of all these mannequins. There's some that are like from the 50s, there's some from the 30s, and so Anna ends up asking about like, well, who's Angela? Why is it that this business is called Angela's Mannequins? And Frank has to go on and tell her it's like, well, yeah, my mother had gone on and passed away some time ago, and so I just kind of inherited this business. So we then have Anna that's like, well, you know what, I want to kind of put some art together. Is there a possibility that I might be able to go on and be able to like borrow some of these mannequins? And Frank is like, ugh, like I, I don't, we don't really do that here. Like, if anything, like I like when giving people stuff to have it be a permanent home, because, like, yeah, that would just be a pain in the butt to have to like rent these things out, and then also like just think of like if he goes on and actually sells it, he finally gets rid of it, and then also like. He doesn't want to go on and just kind of borrow things because who knows if it can get damaged. Uh, but so Anna's going on and talking to Frank. It's like, well, you know what? Like, how about we kind of exchange information? And like, if you change your mind, then like, just think of me. And so, so obviously, Frank will give in to Anna and do whatever she needs because like Frank probably needs the money anyways. Because we'll come to find out later that Frank ends up saying that nobody really like wants these like old fashioned mannequins. They just want to have all the new stuff. And but for whatever reason, Frank just could not give up this business. He was just too inherited from his mother, and just he kept on doing it because he just couldn't let it go. So after going on and talking to Anna, it's like, wow, like this girl could be something here. And so Frank all of a sudden stumbles back to the mannequin girls, and so it seems that both Lucy and both Judy, mannequin wise, are having a go at one another, and Frank is very upset. And then also there's to be starting to be like just kind of bugs at some point that are kind of flying around these mannequins, and he has to spray Raid on them and try to keep them clean and whatever. And so Frank goes into the bathroom and he's trying to wash his hands. He's scrubbing his hands so freaking hard. Like it feels like there's like blood coming off them. And like for me, I have what of course we call a soap allergy. So and I found that out by just kind of consistently just washing my hands. And so like I would find like in the wintertime like that my like hands would start to like crack and break. They don't do that anymore, just because I have like a soap that works. But yeah, but like my hands would just start to crackle and eventually bleed a little bit. Not really like so like uh but I'm like looking at this, I'm like, ugh, like that even is for me just like, ugh. So but then also we then see that Frank's hands are starting to turn into mannequin hands, and he is just trying to just consistently try and wash his hands, and he is hurting because maybe these migraines are getting to him, and also just his hands are turning into mannequin hands and freaking him out. And then like we keep seeing these flashes of stuff where Frank was with Anna, and like I guess this is the fancy of him possibly thinking that this girl is the one, um, or just remembering just the time that they had together, and like having I guess us the viewer assume that this is going to go somewhere between the two of them, or really this is just bizarrely how this is just working in Frank's mind. I don't quite get these scenes, but they're there anyways. So Frank goes on and he realizes he needs some killing to do. So he ends up like every like action hero or superhero guy or gal, and he ends up just kind of putting on his weird, goofy knife. Uh, what is it called? Uh, like thing holder, and he then realizes that he's gonna start just driving around. So he sees this one blonde jogger lady. It's like, all right, give me some of that action, and then he doesn't. He goes and finds this jewelry store where this girl is kind of working at, or kind of walking around, kind of looking, window shopping. And this cop is like, excuse me, sir. Like, you need to move. You need to move. And so Frank is just like, well, my wife is just outside. He's like, no, no, you need to move, sir. So he moves. So Frank just continues to drive. And out the window of some like dancing studio, Frank ends up seeing outside of this window this dancing scarf woman, which we'll find is Jessica. You'll probably think that this is going to be the next contestant on You're Probably Going to Die. Yeah, that is for true. That is for true. So, so this scarf dancer, if you don't know what scarf dancing is, because I barely even know what it is, uh, so we have like, if you guys, of course, know like the strippers on the pole, like that is a very goofy and weird comparison, but it's similar to that. Like, um, I would go on and say Markiplier at one point did this same kind of weird scarf dancing. So if you want to actually see how it's done, check out a Markiplier video. Weirdly enough, but yeah, so this girl has these really long stretches of scarves that are to have her like collectively like wrap it up in her body, and then she's to do all these like gymnast like moves uh in with these scarves, and that then leads her to do these kind of just rolling techniques and all these just kind of interesting stuff. And it's like it feels like they go a little bit long on seeing this girl do all these maneuvers within these scarves. And I'm just like, okay, what do we need to see this for? But I get it. Maybe for the time it was like really cutting edge, or is really just them like thinking like, hey, I really like this whole thing. Like, let's lean a little bit longer for this movie, or maybe they just had to get to X number of minutes in this movie, so they probably just edited that to just be what it is. But so weirdly, like Frank goes from being outside of the building to then just oddly being in one of the lockers. I'm like, how did we get from one place to the other here? Doesn't make sense to me. I wish that they would have gone on and actually showed the progression of how he got into the locker, because that I was like, what? So Frank is in the locker, and so he's waiting for everyone to be going through this locker room, and so Jessica ends up being kind of the last to be left there. Well, maybe not the very last one, but we'll get to that soon. And so Jessica topless is going on and like straightening up her hair, and she's with this towel. So Jessica ends up hearing something that she feels there's somebody possibly in the locker. And I'm like, yeah, it probably would make a lot of sense. And Jessica gets closer and closer to the locker to then get spooked by one of the other dancers. And then she's like, oh my god, you scared the crap out of me. So Frank then goes on to, after him getting out of the studio, this dance studio, he follows Jessica uh, through the town of wherever the heck that they are. Maybe Calcutta. God, I love that word Calcutta. Oh my god. Uh, it's probably not even a word or a place or whatever, but it's the funniest thing that I always just had in my brain. It's kind of like always in horror films, where like I, when looking back on it, it was super annoying in horror films when they would go out and there'd be like one missing person, so the other rest of the group had to go on and say that person's name like 50 times through the whole movie, um, to then try to find that person. And it's like, yeah, Steve, where are you, Steve? Are you dead, Steve? I'm sure you probably are. Um, but yeah, but like just the weird, stupid thing of realizing that if you haven't probably found your friend in like an hour, he's probably dead or she's probably dead. Give up on finding this person because it's pointless. But so, but that's my freaking just go to joke for horror films because I love it. So there was a topic that I went on and did once called "Movies Defy Logic." Man, was that just such a fun time to do all that stuff. Um, because I wanted to just finally make fun of horror films because there was a lot of stupid stuff about it. But I never did that on this channel. And then also, like, the videos I think are still on another channel. At some point, I should have gone on and downloaded all of those things and then just brought them back here. It probably would have been actually worth it to have kind of recycle all those or just do the topic over again and just have fun with it. Let me know in the comments below if you want something like that, and maybe I'll actually do it because it would probably just be so much fun for me to just recount all those videos or just have fun with it again. I don't know. Moving on. So I am going into tangents. My apologies. It's just gonna make for a longer video, and we're almost at an hour and 20 some odd minutes already of movie. So Frank goes on and is to uh follow Jessica into the subway station, and we have the newspaper that ends up stating about uh, police suspect serial killer, and I got a good chuckle out of that. So Frank is going on and just really just looking at this Jessica girl, so much so that she's starting to get very uncomfortable. And so she's like, "Dude, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of the subway." And then so Frank gets out of the subway, and then she really knows that like she's being followed, so she starts running. Frank goes on and is to follow her and is to just kind of get her into a spot where, like, hey, where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run? So Jessica continues to run and runs pretty good a ways away from Frank, but Frank eventually goes on to finds her and finds that she is just kind of in this gated parking lot section where he goes and finds a way to close this gate and then goes underneath these cars and just kind of waits for Jessica to just kind of continue to walk around for him to go on and slice her ankle, and so she goes freaking down, and then so she's trying to like slide away. She's like, no. And Frank just goes in and like, ha, ha, ha. And then of course scalps her and kills her. And that's when where we get the hero shot. No, the villain shot where we see this. We see this guy. And I was like, man, this is actually pretty clever. Oddly enough. So Frank is going on and he's trying to fix one of these mannequins, and Anna is going on and taking pictures of every bit of it, and so Anna's going to go on and develop these pictures and then show them to Frank and be like, oh, this is my favorite one. I'm like, man, like she really went on and like quickly like figure out a way to just develop these photos. I was surprised. So we have Frank that goes on and asks Anna about like, well, hey, can you go on and give me one of these hands? And he literally wanted a hand, and it was kind of funny. So here's where Anna and Frank go off together, and I think she's eating a sandwich here, and Anna's talking about how she wants to put together a show and eventually have a gallery, and like that's her dream. And so Frank goes on and talks about his mannequin business and how he inherited it from his mother and he could not let it go. and it's like, well, yeah, like I can understand the same thing because I have uh like old negative photos that I just kind of keep with me. So the more and more that the two of them talk, we have Frank that is to start to get a migraine, and he like runs off because he has to get migraine medication, and he ends up getting Nasonex. So when Frank meets up with Anna again, like she'll be like, "Well, you know what? Are you okay? Like, what happened?" And then he has to go on and explain that he gets migraines. So after getting his medication, Frank makes it back to his shop, and that's where we have Chief Judd Taylor, who is going on and talk about that this seems to be some kind of serial murder case. And Frank is like, "Well, yeah, they're never gonna figure it out. They're never gonna find me." And he starts spraying the mannequins with more Raid so he can kill all the bugs. So here's where we get a flashback of Frank, his younger self, in this closet as his mother is having this threesome, and his mother knows that Frank is there, and she goes on and does this to him, and just continues on what she's doing. So here's where Frank all of a sudden sees that he has no, he has no Johnson, he has no dick. He legitimately just has a uh, mannequin's like belt down uh, look to him, but he still has his hands. He still has his normal human hands. So Frank is starting to stalk Anna. So he's looking at her uh, through her gallery, and whoops, my bad. So Anna and Frank are having a conversation on the phone, and where am I here? Let me pause here for a second. No, we're still good. So the two of them talking, and so Anna is to kind of say goodbye to one of her friends, and she ends up talking that she feels that sometimes that she's a slave driver, and Anna ends up talking to Frank. It's like, well, like you know what? It seems like you are kind of a guy that feels that you're kind of very alone, and Frank is like, well, yeah, like that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you about. Like, would you ever want to go out and see a movie or something? And so the two of them end up going out and seeing a movie together, and it ends up being The Cabinet of Kelgari. I've never seen the movie because also it's like a black and white film. I've seen black and white movies. There's nothing wrong with it. If this movie seems to be good, maybe I should check it out at some point. And so Frank is going on and consistently watching this film, and all of a sudden he's reflashing back to now Frank and Lucy doing a bit of a choking scene, and it's in black and white. And Frank turns to Anna, and Anna turns into a mannequin, and then turns into Anna again. And so Anna is looking at Frank. It's like, "Are you okay? Are you having another migraine again?" And Frank is like, "No, I think I'll be okay." So Frank and Anna, after the movie is over, they go on and they're talking about the film and how they didn't like the ending because Frank wants a happy ending, and I think Anna was kind of happy with the way that the ending was, but she realizes that Frank is a true romantic because he wanted a happy ending. So while the two of them are finally going on and they're talking here, We then finally have Anna that divulges that she has a boyfriend. It's like, oh, what? Like it kind of felt like Anna was kind of leading Frank on. Like it seems like there was like a connection between the two of them. Like I think Anna should have gone on and said something earlier, but maybe also Anna was probably thinking like this whole time that she was with Frank that he might have been either gay or probably gone on to just of thought that maybe Frank is just gonna figure it out. Stupid, right? Like God, that is always just be the thing where it's like, oh yeah, they could probably just figure out that I have a boyfriend, or maybe it'll just never really come up, and yeah, like whatever. So Frank, after hearing that Anna had a boyfriend, like Frank starts to kind of back away from Anna, and is to start to come up with excuses for why they won't go to a bar together because Frank is like, no, I think I have some like business that I still need to do at the work or at my job. I'm like, dude, like you're just saying that now. Like, why did you go to the movie then? Like, you're just making excuses, obviously. So Anna goes onto this cab and she leaves. So Frank goes on and is to look at all these TV screens at himself holding on to this case. It's a really cool visual in this film. Like, if anything, I probably could have used it as a thumbnail, but I thought that the other thing that I used was more interesting. So Frank starts walking through town and is to get a flashback of his mother getting humped in the middle of the street. And Frank is going back to the younger version of himself. And then, bizarrely, as his mother turns, she all of a sudden has blonde hair, and now Frank is just seeing Anna as his mother, bizarrely. So Frank is going on and looking in the mirror, and kind of as his head is to move, the camera is to move, which I thought was like a really cool kind of approach of idea. So Frank ends up getting some clothes together and makes his way to this gallery. And immediately what we see is that Anna is with her boyfriend Jason and they're hugging and smooching and whatever. So Anna then goes on and meets with Frank and has a good conversation with him about how she had used the mannequins and had, since the mannequins are all faceless and she got these mannequins from Frank, that like she wanted to put her own face on top of all the mannequins from projectors, and it like I was like, okay, that's a really cool idea. And so them just going on and just kind of talking about like what she ended up doing and like yeah, just having this bit of just interesting conversation to with one another. So Frank goes into the bathroom and here's where he meets up with Jason, and Jason ends up calling Frank gay, which of course Frank is like, dude, I'm not gay. And so that's when Jason just wipes his hands all over Frank's blazer and then walks off. So Frank just starts talking to Rita, and I can probably understand maybe at this point why Frank here is to probably lose his mind and go after Rita. Just because of the stuff that he just had to effing deal with the whole like Anna finding out that or Frank finding out that Anna had a boyfriend, and then like having this boyfriend treat Frank the way he did. I would have freaking lost my mind too. Because there are certain situations where I've gone on and done nice things, and then ended up just kind of blowing up in my face. And I'm just like, God, like, why am I to go on and be a good person? Like, I should just really be sometimes. I should really be an a hole sometimes. But anyways, so Frank is talking with Rita, and Rita is going on and talking about how she knows somebody that could business connect with Frank because there's guys that go on and like to just destroy stuff as art, and Frank's mannequins could end up as a kind of a thing that could be used as that. And Frank is like, you know what? I don't like doing stuff like that. I like to restore mannequins, not destroy them. So, yeah. So, oh, also, Jason was to talk to Frank about like, oh, did you like playing with dolls as a kid? Because I'm sure you liked uh, playing with mannequins, so it's the same thing, right? So after closing time, Semisonic, if you don't remember that song, uh, Rita starts making her way home. So we have Frank that follows her and gets to this hotel that she's staying at and grabs the front desk's key and gets into this person's room and goes on to follow her into the tub where she is having a bubble bath, and she's going on to taking this wine, and she's drinking it, and Frank kind of slides it to her so that way she can stop looking for it. And so Frank goes on and is to try to like touch the tub, and Rita, like, I feel has a sense for this, so she kind of takes off her towel that is draped over her head, and then Frank goes on and pushes Rita into the tub, I guess, knocking her out, not killing her. So Frank ties this one up, puts her on this bed, and Frank just starts going off and saying that Rita is to be his mother. And so Frank goes off by saying, like, hey, you can change your hair, but like it won't matter. I know that this is you, mother. And I guess because, in all honesty, I guess because Rita is probably the age that she is to probably go on and be, like, I guess this could probably be close enough to maybe Frank's mother. I'm sorry about this actress and her age. That feels really inappropriate for me to go on and say, but like, it makes the most sense, I guess, in my brain. So Rita ends up, after trying to get this thing out of her mouth, she's like, "Don't kill me," and Frank's like, "Why would I kill you?" And so Frank, instead of killing this person, he rips her scalp off, and that ends up just kind of killing her anyways. So Frank goes on and cleans the knife, and so Frank is to go on and be in the room where all the mannequins are, and he ends up getting a phone call from Anna, and Anna is to say, like, "Oh, my manager, like, she's dead now, and like I need somebody to comfort me because my boyfriend isn't here." And so Frank is like, "Well, like, if you need somebody, like, I'll be there." And then, oddly enough, when Frank does get there, it's too freaking late. There's already a guy already there. So what is the freaking point of that? Like, what the guy? Like, I guess, or what the Anna? Like, you knew that Frank was gonna be there to comfort you, but like, there was already a guy there. Like, I guess this is really just saying that maybe like Anna wanted to get this uh get this other guy who is Martin to be there with Frank, so maybe she thought that he was gay. I don't know. But if anything, also here is where we get to see the younger version of Frank, his younger self as a mannequin. I'm like, all right, this was cool. I liked that part of it. So Frank goes and meets up with Anna, and like, they're holding hands, they're talking, and so Frank is trying to comfort her. They make their way uh, back to Anna's place, and there's to be this Martin guy there. So Frank and Anna, after Martin leaves, starts talking about Rita, and like Frank is going on and telling Anna, it's like, well, like, yeah, like you should really definitely need to be kind of comforted right now because maybe this killer could go after you next because like this happened like 3 blocks from where you were. And Anna's looking at Frank. It's like, what? How is it that you know where like Rita lives? And Frank is like, oh well, like I saw Rita was walking home, and I asked if she wanted to ride, and she told me her address, and something about the way he said it just sounded wrong. So Anna's like, oh my god, like you killed this girl, and Anna tries to go into her bathroom and holds out and tries to just be, please don't. And Frank is like, what? Like, I came to comfort you. Like, what are you doing? Like, like I'm here for you. What? Why are you running from me? And I was like, oh my god. Like, all of this is just like, yeah, like, this should be how a lot of killers should honestly be. Uh, they should be the consoling friend instead of the like I'm gonna get you. Like no, none of that nonsense. It should just be like uh it should be like the boyfriend that always wanted the girl kind of thing, and it was like so strong that like if like it should kind of be that kind of thing, like not the whole like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, all those other kind of garbage slasher people. So uh so Anna is desperately calling for Martin. Martin comes in there and he has this bat. And I'm like, what are you going to do with that bat, boy? Come on. Like, bring it, man. So Frank is to go on and give Martin a little bit of a cleaver to the face. Yeah, I'm like, finally we see a movie where they use a freaking cleaver to kill somebody. I'm like, that was freaking sweet. But it doesn't take him out, though. So Martin takes a cleaver to the mouth. Yeah. And he goes down. And you're thinking, dude, this guy's down for the count, but nope. So Frank goes back to Anna to try and talk to her, and then all of a sudden Martin comes back. And so Frank shoves Martin through this door, breaking the door, and then Anna and Frank are having this conversation between the two of them. And Anna's trying to defend herself. She ends up slashing Frank's arm. She has this knife that's with her, and she's trying to defend herself. Frank ends up taking the shower curtain and suffocating Anna, and we're thinking like, oh, Anna's dead here, and Frank is just gonna take this body and haul it away. Anna's not dead. She freaking like launches at Frank, and this is freaking awesome. So, because there's like this as Frank is driving along, Frank sees these cops, and then he's looking at Anna. He's like, all right, well, we're fine. All right, we're so Frank goes and opens the back of his vehicle to then find that, like, okay, where is Anna? Anna pops out of nowhere, stabs Frank with this mannequin hand, and he gets stabbed in the chest. He's like, oh, I'm stabbed in the chest. Oh my god. So now Anna's running and Frank is running after her. And so by the time that Frank finds Anna, she's running this car, and the car runs Frank over, but then the car crashes, and so Anna's out of the car. She's all just like, and Frank is like, God, why did you do that? Why? Like, we could have been together. We could have been something. And yeah. Frank goes on and scalps Anna and turns her into his bride and brings her to his bed. And all of a sudden, all of the other mannequins are all starting to come alive here, and they're wanting to go on and make Anna disappear and start to go on and start to mock Frank. Like this is like uh the scene from Flatliners where Baldwin is to go on and just bang all of these women, and then all the women go on and like start to haunt Frank, whoever Baldwin was in that Flatliners movie, and like he then realizes that like he had to come clean about all the women that he's ever slept with to his current, and then that like absolved all of everything of what he was doing. But this kind of reminded me of that. So Frank starts to go on and one by one, and we have all these women that end up having these just kind of like liners that end up getting like kind of connected to everything that they've said. Like we have Rita that comes in and like, well, hey, would you like a bubble bath? And like Lucy comes in and she has her whatever her liner is, and uh, Judy ends up talking about uh, like, hey, don't have any other women in sharing our bed and this and that or something along those lines. So Frank makes his way back to the bed to then find all the girls just kind of surrounding the bed, and then Anna's there, and then she's gone. And so the girls all are then have Frank onto the bed, and they start tearing him away and tearing his flesh off. And Anna, the bride, is watching in the background, and so they end up removing Frank's face to then have him just become face wise a mannequin. And then the next thing we end up seeing is that the cops have shown up at this mannequin place and they find Frank dead in this closet. And that's how they wrap up this film. Yeah, so with this said, yeah, I know that this was really going on long, so I really wanted to go on and try to wrap up this movie as quick as possible. This one I didn't have much to go on and talk about besides just what happened in the film. Uh, but yeah, so I'm gonna try to get out of here because I realize that I'm kind of creeping up close to the hour and 25-minute marker. Let me know in the comments below if you are to like the original over the newer one or vice versa, which maybe you like both, maybe you hate both, maybe you're just like, why did you review this? And I would just be like, because I wanted to watch something fun. So with that said, I'm going to try to get the heck out of here so I can be able to not be extremely tired. Also, kind of had a thing on my plate today that kind of effed up everything because it took me like 2 hours to do uh, uh, like kind of one running errands thing, and that was like, okay, like I can't do cardio today, like I can't do this, I can't do that. So it's like, well, like let's hope that I can at least figure out a way to squeak out a review. So this is further to what I did today. So with that said, goodbye everybody. Bye everybody. Let me know in the comments below what could be a horror film that I eventually can review. There's probably going to be one in the future that I'm going to do that's possibly called Succubus. I don't know. Who knows how well that's going to go. Or if I even decide to do that, I might decide to do something else. I don't know. Could be a thing. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.